Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to Keeping Up with E-commerce, brought to you by our friends at SAP Upscale Commerce. We are so excited to have you here today. This is a live, unscripted discussion about all things e-commerce. We bring thought leaders, experts, brands to this show to talk with you so we can all learn best practices about e-commerce and the resulting experiences. My name is Dan Gingiss. I'm a customer experience speaker and coach. So happy to be here today and really thrilled to have you here today. Please provide comments and questions. We'd love to have your interaction. Today, we're going to keep the momentum going with episode 3, where we're going to talk about subscription programs and loyalty programs and how we might reimagine them to create new opportunities. I'm very excited to have 2 amazing guests here today, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. The first is Margie Bell. She is the Vice President of Product Management for SAP Upscale Commerce, and she's based in Boston. Welcome, Margie.
Thank you, Dan. I'm really happy to be here and happy to join in this discussion.
Well, we're happy to have you as well. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've spent probably over 20 years in product management, working in a spectrum of companies, both big and small, and love building products that bring value to customers. That's me.
Outstanding, outstanding. And we have your colleague here from France, Constance Dupolignac. She is the Global Customer Experience Advisor for SAP. Constance, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. Happy to be here also.
Now, I know, Constance, you have led some loyalty programs for some pretty big brands. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, before joining SAP, I was a business executive working as CMO and CDO for companies such as Sephora or Galeries Lafayette or Unilever. I actually, for the anecdote, have launched or relaunched 5 different loyalty programs in my life. So yeah, a little knowledge there.
That is awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk about these 2 topics as well, because I've had the good fortune of leading both the loyalty program and continuity program in my past. So hopefully I'll be able to fill in some additional thoughts as our 2 experts here are speaking. Constance, I'm going to start with you, and I'm wondering if you can tell us, what do you think customers are looking for today in loyalty programs, and what can set a company apart given that there's so many different programs out there?
Okay, I think what customers look for in loyalty programs is actually 2 things. First of all, it has to be simple, valuable, and it has to speak to them. And when I look at all the loyalty programs that are successful, they have a common thing. They have a similar thing, which is they always have what I call 3 pillars legs of their loyalty programs. They have benefits that speak to the heart, benefits that speak to the soul, and benefits that speak to the head. Each of those benefits are complementary to the other 2, right? So you need the 3 to make a successful program. However, each one of them attract the customer for a different reason. The head, they're driven by the rational benefits, and these benefits definitely go for increasing the customer's frequency at shopping at your place. And these are all the benefits that have to do with earn and burn and, promotions, and it's the rational benefits. Then you have the heart benefits. These benefits, they go for customer recognition. I feel understood by that loyalty program. They understand me as a brand because they actually know my pain points. And when you look at the benefits that answer that specific topic, they lift the customer pain points. Anything from free shipping, free valet parking, private, nights, tickets for the concert. I am recognized as a person and I feel nourished and cherished. And so I like it. It's my heart that's speaking. And the third benefit is everything going around the soul. So these are more benefits that make my soul align to the company that I am engaging with. And definitely here, the CSR of the company has to be visible and aligned with the customer. So any loyalty program that allows you as a customer to give your points for a charity, for a cause that is aligned with the company's DNA and with my personal feelings would also definitely make a hit there. So those three make it a very virtuous circle of the customer's engagement, going from frequency, increase of top of mind, and the last one is going for brand preference with the CSR benefits. So you drive all of the customers' interest to your company.
I love that, Constance, the heart, head, and soul part. I always like to talk about one of the main elements in creating remarkable experiences is being immersive. That's the word I like to use. And immersive in my mind is about feeling the experience, having emotions behind it. And it's very difficult to achieve that, especially when you think about, my loyalty experience came from the credit card industry. And I always had to remind my team, because I call it like I see it. And I would always remind the team, look, nobody wakes up in the morning hoping to hear from their credit card company. Like nobody, right? So we've got to put a program together that kind of does its thing and works for them, but doesn't require us to be in their face all the time or for them to work hard. And one of the things that we figured out that I want to use a piece of advice to others considering a loyalty program is that when you're advertising the loyalty program, you really have to talk about the earn part, because that's what happens first, right? And so that's what draws people in. Wow, I can earn all of this. Now you mentioned burn, which we affectionately call redeem, which is this is now where you take your rewards and you do something with them. And what we found in the credit card industry was when customers redeemed their rewards, this was the moment where they were happiest with their credit card. They loved us when they redeemed, right? Because they were getting free money or free gift cards or free gifts, whatever it was. And it's important that you try to leverage that moment. For example, if you want to ask somebody to leave you a review on a rating site, that's a really good time to do it. And that's actually when we did do it, because we knew that they were very happy with us at that moment. So I love that you're talking about those three elements, the heart, the mind, and the soul. Also, I think to companies, it's important that you recognize when you're delivering that, where the customer is and how they're feeling, because then you can leverage that going forward. So great start to conversation, Constance. Thank you so much. Margie, I'm going to move on to you because we're talking also about continuity programs. And, these are very related, because obviously to join and stay in a continuity program, you have to display some loyalty. And so these are definitely related. But how do you determine what types of products are the best candidates for a continuity program?
Yeah, a great question. I'm thinking about this when I'm, as a consumer, buying on continuity. Is it appealing to my heart, my mind, or my soul? I think all of them in different ways. All of this is really about driving a continuous conversation with your customer, right? It's always better to keep a customer, much easier to keep a customer, much more valuable than trying to gain one. And so from a continuity perspective, when you're looking at the products, you're really trying to find those products that have a predictable and recurring demand, right? So you're building in convenience for the customer. So often those are going to be consumable products. Most commonly you're going to think something in the health and beauty category, but they don't need to exclusively be there. Fashion is increasingly experimenting in this space. I think you also, of course, with your brand perspective and profitability, you want to look at high margin products. So that's another important aspect to consider. And then it's also really key to make sure that this is a product that you can sustainably source and sustainably replenish, right? Because satisfaction is so important. If you're signing your customer up for continuity, you want to make sure you can actually deliver on it. So I think that those are sort of the key areas. You can also look at it from the perspective of building out, your medicine cabinet or your pantry. And so looking at a lot of complementary products. If I'm offering shampoo, I should offer conditioner. There's another personal area where I think there's a lot more opportunity, and it's what I would call connected products. So as more and more of us have smart devices in our home, I'll give an example for me. I've got my thermostat's on Wi-Fi, and I got an app on my phone, and it will remind me, and it will send me emails telling me it's time to change the filter. But what a missed opportunity, because if it could also offer me that on continuity, because it's reminding me at a fixed frequency, turn that into a sale. that to me is, again, another tremendous opportunity. It's another consumable, not in the health and beauty category, but one that we're all using, fridge filters. There's lots of examples that will increase over time, where it's really about looking for those products that we all consume pretty regularly, and making it convenient for us to receive them when we need them, but also profitable for the brand to keep a continuous conversation with me.
Yeah, great points. And I want to add to that, Margie, that I think almost any product could be a continuity program when done in the right way. And I want to give an example from my very first job out of college. I worked for a company out in the East Coast called the Danbury Mint. Now they sell collectibles, high-end collectibles, plates, dolls, figurines. You've probably seen their ads. And I remember like it was yesterday, and it was not yesterday, it was a long time ago, when the product development team put a new product on my desk, and my job was to figure out how to sell it. And it was a hand-painted porcelain replica of, are you ready for this, a red barn. Now, not a famous red barn from a movie, not a red barn that you would recognize, just a red barn. And it had some chickens outside and some haystacks and stuff. And I looked at this thing. I'm like, who in the world is going to buy this? And what am I supposed to do with this? Well, I did some research and started segmenting and, finding out, hey, we got a lot of farmers in the country and there's actually a big audience for this. And we marketed this red barn. Well, P.S., the red barn turned into a continuity program of 12 different barns representing every month of the year, and the seasons changed and all this sort of stuff.
Collectible.
It was one of the most popular series that we had ever sold. And, so the learning from that is if you can turn a red barn into a continuity program, more than likely, whatever it is you're selling, you can figure out how to put it into some sort of a program.
That's right. I think it's all about knowing your customer, right? And seeing the opportunity to turn anything into a recurring sale. Yeah,
for sure. So I want to deviate just a little bit for a moment and have you both think about what are some brands that you think are doing this really, really well, either from a continuity perspective or from a loyalty perspective. And because I know I'm throwing you a little bit of a curveball, I'll answer first to give you a little chance to think about it. One of the ones that I think has done amazingly well is Starbucks. And there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one, I think that their loyalty program is very valuable. And so you get to that point of redeeming fast enough, right? If you had to go 6 months before you could redeem for a coffee, then it's not a program that's worth it. I think the other thing is so interesting is that they've built the payment mechanism into it. And I'll tell you, even having come from the payments industry, the Starbucks app is still the only app that I use to pay for things. It's the only place that I go where I use their app to pay. Everywhere else, I still pull out a credit card. Now, that's just me, but it's because they've integrated it so well, and that when you've got the credit card loaded in, you get extra points and extra rewards and whatever. They've made it so seamless that, of course, when I drive up to the drive-through, I pull out my phone and I pay, even though I don't do that at other places. And so to me, that makes it stand out as being one that's been really successful. Let's go to you, Constance. What about one that you're excited about now, or maybe that you're a personal consumer of?
Okay, so I like one, Douglas.de. This is a beauty cosmetic retailer, which would be the equivalent of Sephora in Europe. They have a very interesting loyalty program because they have a great progressive profiling. They literally take you by the hand, and as you enter in terms of relationship with them, they always take you to the next little step, asking you for that next little additional interest about that you might want to give them in terms of beauty interest, in terms of beauty profile, in terms of how you consume what you would like. And they've really take that progressive profiling and create out of that this personalized hub that you have on their website, where you can access anything that is relevant to what you have declared as in terms of center of interest. So you will have your beauty profile, obviously. You will also have a product that are suggested to you because of what you have declared or browsed. And you will also have your wish list, of course, and your offline and online orders. What I like also is that they have a very generous program. Even if you have joined and haven't bought yet, you have a great birthday gift. Again, I like the fact that they recognize the value of me entering in a relationship with them. And I think that's a very significant moment when you start a relationship, is just saying, hi, it's me, before you do the transaction. And they recognize that and they invest in you. They also have a second way to recognize the loyalty program. So you have your loyalty card, or you can go for a credit card. And that credit card is not a second tier program, because that would be wrong. It's a different way to have a loyalty program where you can earn points and you redeem whenever you want. You don't have to, you have like a year to redeem like your points, and you can redeem up to 100 euros out of your basket, which is a lot, you see. So I love that kind of, you decide to earn and then you redeem at one point when it makes sense for you to make yourself a gift. So I think it's very well thought out, and it is simple, and it appeals to, the heart, the soul, and to the mind. So
Wonderful. Great example. I just want to follow on one thing that you said, and that was the birthday. And I want to say this because it is remarkable to me how many companies know our birthdays and how few of them recognize it. Think about the number of times that you've had to fill in your birthday on a form, or you've had to show somebody ID that has your birthday on it, and it's on an application. And it's like, why are you even asking for it if you're not going to use it? And if you do have access to that information, you might as well use it, right? Who doesn't like to be wished happy birthday on their birthday? So it's such an easy slam dunk opportunity for an experience, and yet so many companies overlook it. Margie, what kind of a company are you looking at right now, or are you excited about as a consumer?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm going to go more the this is the continuity and loyalty play. I love the meal planning services that are out there, like the HelloFreshes of the world, because as a working parent with a family, it takes the planning out. It simplifies my grocery shopping, and I've got a consistent plan for multiple meals in a week, shows up at my door. I've got control over it still. I can still decide tailor vegetarian versus meat, or which meals I want, but it really introduces all of that convenience and simplicity in my life.
Plus those little tiny bottles of oil and vinegar are so cute. I love them.
Well, so I love that part, that they minimize the waste too. So yeah. I'd like them to do a little more minimization of waste, but that convenience is priceless.
Well, yeah, like an interesting follow-on would be, hey, we're going to send you a big bottle of olive oil because you're going to need it for, the next 7 meals that you're going to cook. I think that'd be really interesting to do. All right, let's finish up here with some best practices. You guys have done this for a long time. You've worked both at companies and you've advised through SAP. Interested in hearing from each of you, what are some best practices for companies looking to launch or maybe relaunch continuity or loyalty programs? Let's start with you, Constance.
Okay, so definitely first, you would have to audit the existing, right? To look at what's going on. So do your customer know about your loyalty program? Do they like it? I always say what is not known doesn't exist, right? So you can scratch out all the benefits that are not known by your customers because you've been investing for nothing, right? Basically. So first of all, this. Second is looking at your customers' database. How is it evolving in time? So looking at you can segment your database like RFM segmentation in a year, and then look at how these segments have evolved the year +1, and looking at the reasons why. So you do like lots of data digging, but it's very valuable to understand what's going on in terms of lifetime value of your macro segments. Then when you have done this, you have a good understanding of, what are the key problems, or what is the KPI that you want to influence. Do you want to go for increase of frequency? Do you want to go for increase of average basket, increase of different categories bought, or do you want to change your NPS, whatever? what is the single KPI, and not 2 or 3 where, I have seen so many companies saying, okay, let me just increase frequency, average basket, numbers category. That just doesn't work. You have to focus on one.
Then I was going to say, you were going through that list. I was like, yes, I would. Yes.
Yep.
I love those.
Doesn't work. And give you a tip. Usually, if you go for frequency, that's the most efficient one, because you're driving the customer just to come back just slightly earlier than he would have had naturally. And to do that, there's some great ways to do that. You would definitely define time validity of benefits that would be just slightly under the natural in between transaction rates of customers. So if they come back in your stores every 67 days, you would fix a benefit that's valid for 60 days, and you would definitely advertise that after 50 days, saying, hey guys, wake up, only 10 more days to benefit from that important benefit that I am giving out to you. And so you would communicate, so they would come back in your store and do the transaction just slightly earlier than they would have naturally done it. But when you do that and you multiply that by the 10 million card holders that you have, that slight, increase of frequency, it turns out to be million every year. And just 2 tips, very important tips, is that when you look at, you should be aiming at increasing the consumption of your middle segments in your customer database, not the top segments, not the bottom ones. Usually people focus on increasing the top segments because these are the one that has a lot of value. Think of it like this. If you're at the top of the mountain, you cannot go higher, right? You just want them to be maintained at the top of the mountain. So definitely you want them to be happy, increase, definitely working on the heart and the soul part a lot, because this is what will make the emotion and the difference. But where you want to really work, and it will make the difference, is those 50%, the middle segments. Bring them to the top of the mountain. And in order to do that, you have to set your benefit to do a very important thing that you mentioned, Dan, earlier, which is you have to set benefits so that these medium segments see the reality of your loyalty program benefit at least once a year. So if you don't have a benefit that is visible because of your natural consumption at least once a year, you will not see the generosity of the program. And to do that, you have to look at the median consumption, not the average, because average is completely messed up by that top 10% segment. They consume so much that if you look at the average, basket value of your company, it's not the reality. Go for the median average basket value, the median in between transaction rate, the median sales, that will really give you the reality of how your consumers buy and consume at your place.
That is great advice. Thank you so much, Constance. How about you, Margie? What are some best practices you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think we already talked about the products that you'll choose, and know your customer and experiment, right? As long as you have a predictable supply, there's lots of room for experimentation. But I think the key things we haven't talked about is really making sure that the customer is in control, right? Because your goal is to get someone to sign on to continuity and stay there. And we have to recognize we're dealing with human beings who go on vacation, or kids move out, or kids move back in, and you need to allow them to control the frequency, pause, etc. Better that than forcing them to cancel. And then I think another really important point is to understand that the data shows us that about 60% of your customers will drop off around about the 3rd delivery, and about 80% around the 6th if it's too rigid and kind of the same old. So it's really important to think about, how do you inject some what we call surprise and delight? How do you surprise them with perhaps a gift, something complementary to what they're already ordering that might drive a larger basket going forward, or offer them free shipping on one of the deliveries, or an additional discount to really kind of keep it fresh and engaging for the customer.
Outstanding. Well, Margie Bell, Constance Dupolignac, thank you so much for being here today. Great takeaways. Really benefited from your experience. So Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone in our audience, for joining us today. If you'd like to dig deeper into this topic, you can scan the QR code on your screen or go to sap.com/upscalecommerce, and or you may check out the chat for additional resources. I'm Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker and coach. This has been another episode of Keeping Up with E-commerce, brought to you by our friends at SAP Upscale Commerce. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.